Hello, it's Henna, and this is a perfume rotation. So, once again, I'm going to talk about the perfumes I wore in the month of December. I feel like I was gone a long time, but I really wasn't gone for you guys at all. I was in Toronto for about 10 days visiting family, and so did lots of smelling and perfume trying there, but I definitely wasn't thinking about creating content or anything like that. So I feel like I'm making a return, but I really haven't been gone for very long. So this is basically where I talk about the scents that I wore for the month of December. I talk about the full bottles that I reached for again and again, and then also what I sampled and what I thought of the samples that I was wearing in this past month. So Happy New Year. Hope everybody's doing well. Let's get started. The first perfume that I wore a lot of was Dante Brock by Frederic Malle. And this is a newer bottle that I added to my collection last year. I can actually say that now, last year. And it was a bit of a blind buy. Like, I remembered smelling it at the counter, but I I don't think I had like any real thoughts that were fully formed about it. And then I wanted to add another Malle to my collection, and I thought that this would be a good one. And I immediately loved it so much, and I basically wore it nonstop the week that I got it. This really reminds me of warm skin out of the swimming pool. So I know that's like a very weird way to describe it. It's a very niche, nostalgic memory that I have of going swimming when I was younger. Like my grandma used to take me, and then the way that the swimming pool smelled, and the way that that community center smelled, and then how your skin smells after swimming in a community pool is what this reminds me of. Like, and I know people are going to tell me you get that chlorine smell when someone has peed in the pool. You can smell the chlorine. That means there's also pee in the pool. I know that, but I can still appreciate the memories of the chlorine before I knew any of that stuff. So I'm okay with that chlorine smell. I've accepted it for what it is. Yes, people are going to pee in a public pool. I don't care. Dante Brock kind of reminds me of that chlorinated smell. There's like a metallic edge to everything that's going on in here. This is a study in the musk cashmerean, which is a warm, cozy kind of musk. It still has a clean element to it, and maybe that's the metallicness that I'm smelling. It's not an animalic musk. It is like a cleaner kind of musk, but it's very warm and cozy, and that's why it reminds me of warm skin. It also has violets in the opening, and I think that lends itself to like this damp kind of feel. Like I get like this damp mushroomy kind of opening, and I think that's because of the violets. There's powder in here, heliotrope, to give it like a powdery almond, like tiny bit of powder, tiny bit of almond. I love almond notes, we all know that. The powder is kind of just like a dusting, and it really makes itself present after this opening. Like there's these aldehydes that open it, and the aldehydes also have that sharp metallic quality. So the aldehydes, the violets, and the opening give you like this feeling of water, of dampness. And I think that's what's also making me think of a swimming pool or coming out of the swimming pool. But then when you get that cashmere and that warm musk on your skin, you feel like this is a warmer, cozier kind of scent. This is a happier memory of going swimming or being at the pool. And it's not overly clean, it's not overly warm, it's not at all animalic, it's just kind of in the middle. So it is a really easy scent to wear because of that. I'll say that I found, and I wore it here, Calgary's very dry, scent tends to be potent, it lasts a really long time, doesn't disintegrate immediately. I found this to be on the lighter side, especially for a Frederic Malle perfume. In my past experience, everything I've tried has been way more potent. This doesn't have the same amount of potency, but it's still just such a pleasure to wear. And when I say it's not potent, I still get 6 to 8 hours of wear out of this. So I'm not complaining about the longevity of it or the projection. I just think it's meant to be a more softer, more cozier, skin-like kind of scent. It's something you want to smell when you give someone a hug. It's not something you want people to perceive when you walk into a room necessarily. So I will say that this didn't last as long as some of the other Frederic Malle scents last. It wasn't as much of a big performer, like it doesn't shout really, but it's just, I don't know, something about that cozy, musky warmth is just so addictive. And I found myself really reaching for this a lot when I first got the bottle. So that was Dante Brock by Frederic Malle. Definitely one of my favorite additions to my collection from the past year, and I'm so glad I got to experience it. I think what I'm due for is a Malle review video of all the Frederic Malle scents that I have in my collection right now and the ones that I have tried. So maybe I will get to that at some point this year. But yes, let me know if you've tried this one. I think it flies a little bit under the radar, especially compared to some of the heavy hitters like Musc Ravageur and Portrait of a Lady, and of course all the other scents with the ouds like the desert and there's no desert. There's moon and there's dawn and there's night. I think compared to all of those, this one flies a little bit under the radar. I can see why, but if you have a chance to try this on skin, you definitely should, because it is a gorgeous scent. I can't wait to wear it more in the summertime, and I want to see how it performs then. But even in the winter, I thought that it worked so well as like a cozy musk perfume. So the next perfume that I wore a lot of in the month of December is L'Orpheline by Serge Lutens. I just found myself spraying this on skin every time I went to the Lutens counter at my local department store. They don't have all of the Serge Lutens collection, but they do have this collection in these kind of bottles. So I figured it was time for me to actually just add it to my collection and try it at home, wear it on skin whenever I wanted. L'Orpheline is also a musk perfume, but in this case the musk is combined with incense, and it's a very clean, cold incense perfume. The story behind L'Orpheline is about some being or entity that is removed from the father and also from the mother, and so L'Orpheline in French means orphan. And that story combined with these notes makes this read as a very isolated, cold perfume. It really lends itself to moments where you need or want to be maybe a little bit more thoughtful, a little bit more meditative. It would work really well for that. It's a little bit simplistic. It's a little bit linear, I would say. It's not very potent and not very long lasting, but at that same time, because it reads so cold and austere, it really lends itself to certain moments. I could see myself wearing this if I was going to be in a big crowd of people and I wanted to have an element of myself that was removed, but I can also see myself wearing this at a time when I would want to meditate or be more contemplative, you know? That is when I could see myself wearing something like Orpheline. So either of those two things, either you're tapping into your more isolated parts of yourself, or you want parts of yourself that are going to be removed and you want to create some sort of boundary. That's what makes me think of L'Orpheline. I really enjoyed wearing it, but because it's such a cold incense, like it's almost stony, I really want to wear this in the summer and see how that coolness balances out the heat that might be in the air. When I wear this, I also think of like walking through a forest or in nature at like winter time, you know, like you're walking through the woods during the day and there's snow on the ground and snow on the trees and everything's quiet and crisp. The air is crisp. You can see your breath in the air. It's very beautiful, but it's also very savage because it's so cold. That is what I think of when I think of Lorphaline. It really smells like a pine forest in the middle of winter time, and you're taking a walk through it and you're completely by yourself. And this is like the type of perfume that you would smell. The incense here is not smoky. I know sometimes we think of incense and we're like, oh, it's going to be smoke and fire. It's like we're in a church. This would be like an abandoned stone cathedral in the middle of the woods. That is what I think of when I think of the incense that's in Lorphaline. It does have like a pepperiness to it too, like a black pepper in the opening and kind of in the background too. I want to wear it in the summertime. I feel like in the winter, I want to wear things that are a little bit sweeter and cozier, and this doesn't lend itself to being very cozy. That being said, I did wear it a lot in December, and I did really enjoy wearing it. Okay, the third bottle that I wore from my collection is Dior Hypnotic Poison. This was something that I picked up in December. Now, I mentioned that I went away for a little bit in December, and even though I knew I was going, I feel like the winter break kind of just sneaks up on you. It's just things are so busy in the holidays. There's like so much to do, and then before you know it, you're packing your suitcase and you're getting on a flight. I was not prepared this time. I didn't have like the sense that I was going to take with me. I didn't really like think about what I wanted to wear while I was there. I kind of just like grabbed a couple decants on my way out the door, and then this bottle I had shipped to my house in Toronto. So this was something that I had been meaning to get anyways, and then I basically, because I didn't really have a lot of my perfume when I was there, I basically wore this a lot when I was there, and oh my god, I loved it so much because this is a powdered almond perfume. It is so powdery. So powdery. The perfumer behind this is Anique Minardo, one of my favorite perfumers of all time. And the scents that she has done that are in this style, not everything that she does is in this style because she, of course, has created so many perfumes for so many different brands. You know, like she's created a lot of Boss perfumes, for example, and so they have their own kind of style. But sometimes her perfumes fall into this like papery vanilla quality. Like there's like a papery, soft, powdery vanilla that's in the background. I think she did Gaiac 10 for Le Labo, and that has that same kind of vanilla. So this is like this powdered almond vanilla perfume. It's got a little bit of spice, and sometimes I could smell the spice. Like the spice here is caraway seeds. So if you don't like caraway, or you're like, oh, that kind of sounds weird, I'll be honest, sometimes I got it and sometimes I really didn't. A lot of times when I wore this, mostly I did just get this powdery vanilla almond balm, and I enjoyed that so much. This is the EDT, so it's quite softer than the EDP. I wore many sprays of it. Toronto is very humid, quite a bit warmer than where I am in Calgary. So I find that when I'm there, perfume wears completely differently. I can wear like 10 sprays of Hypnotic Poison and not offend anyone. And when I'm here, I wear like 2 or 3 sprays, and then I'm still worried that it's going to be too much. And I mean, Calgary's also not as big, it's not as densely populated, and so I feel like people aren't wearing as much perfume here as they do in Toronto. But that paired with the weather means that here I wear considerably less, and in Ontario I wear way more just because I can. So I wore a lot of Hypnotic Poison. I adored it. I really enjoyed wearing it. It's totally my kind of scent, but it also felt very nostalgic and 90s to me because I feel like this kind of perfume DNA was floating around in the air in the 90s when I was growing up. Still enjoyed it, really liked it. Definitely give it a try. If you like Confetto by Profumum Roma, which I really enjoy, this is like a designer version of that scent. Like if you like Confetto and you like the almond facet of Confetto, this is that, but softer, a little bit more wearable, definitely not as sweet, not as potent, not as long lasting, but I guess like maybe a more accessible version of that DNA. Apparently, this is Adele's signature scent in interviews. You know, when people ask her, what would you create if you had to create a perfume? She says, I just wouldn't create one because I only wear Hypnotic Poison. So why would I create something that I already have? Like, I would just want it to smell like Hypnotic Poison. And honestly, I understand that because I feel like when people ask me what kind of scent I would create, a lot of times I'm just like, no, like the things that I love are already out there. Like, what am I going to do? Just like create a dupe of that or create a stronger version? I don't know if that's really something that we need in the world right now. So, I don't know. It's just something to think about. I thought that was interesting that she was very honest and she said that. I also think it's really interesting that sometimes when people think of poison, that concept of poison turns into like this bitter almond note. I think that's so fun and so interesting. So you get like a little bit of that bitterness of the almond. Also, because this is a 90s perfume, it's not very strong and not very sweet, especially compared to the perfumes we have coming out now. Hypnotic Poison doesn't go full out sweet gourmand. It's not like a candied almond. It's literally a bitter powdered almond with like a dusting of sugar on it. It's not super sweet. And I think that almost makes it more easily wearable. Like I don't always want to smell like a candy, but I don't mind if something has like a candy facet to it. And that is what I find with Hypnotic Poison. So I really liked it for that reason also. The other thing that I've read or I've heard people describe the powdery quality in this, the powdered vanilla kind of scent, as being very Play-Doh-like. And on me, I don't feel that, but I do get that when I smell it in the air. And I had this moment where I had sprayed this on in the bedroom and then I'd left and I'd come back in. And as I was like going up the stairs, approaching the bedroom, I could smell this and it smelled like completely like Play-Doh. So I guess like from arm's length, you know, sometimes when you perceive things from arm's length, you get a different impression of them than you do when you're right up close to them. So from arm's length, yeah, I get that Play-Doh facet can come out, but on myself, I didn't really get that, and I don't really mind it anyway, so that's not a reason for me not to wear this. I liked it. Hypnotic Poison, nothing new, nothing groundbreaking in this day and age, but one that I didn't have in my collection, and I don't think I had like really experienced it completely, so it was kind of fun for me to wear this over my vacation. And like I said, I didn't have very much perfume with me, so I was kind of reaching for this all the time and freshening up with it all the time too. So that is Hypnotic Poison by Dior. Finally, let's talk about the perfumes that I was sampling over this month. Like I said, I didn't take very much with me when I went away on vacation. I really, really regretted that. I should have probably taken like 10 samples, 5 decants, and then I'd also have, you know, the Hypnotic Poison and all of these other perfumes to choose from, but I didn't do that. So I had like 2 samples that were out. I grabbed them and then I left. I think I've talked about both of them before, but the first one was Opopanax by Santa Maria Novella. This decant was sent to me by my friend the Sentinel, and I loved it. As you can tell, I found it to be exceedingly easy to wear, and I sprayed on so much of it and really enjoyed that. This perfume focuses on Opopanax resin as its central note and accentuates it with citruses in the opening, kind of like a lemony kind of citrus. There's lavender in here. Opopanax reads really kind of spicy and sweet, so there's like a hint of sweetness in the background, and it's almost like you're waiting for the perfume to warm up and get sweeter and sweeter, but it never actually does that because Opopanax has a sweetness, but it's not actually super, super sweet, and that's fine. It's balsamic, it's warm, but still super light. It kind of reminded me of like a dusky glow from like a lamp. And I think it would be, again, a great perfume to wear if you were going to be by yourself, if you wanted to be thoughtful and meditative. I think Opopanax would work well. Lorpheline works well. Lorpheline is so cold. Opopanax is way warmer. Ooh, if I had to pick between these two, I think they're completely different. I can't really pick. They're so different, but I think I like the sweetness in Opopanax a little bit better than the coolness of Lorpheline. And I find myself feeling like I can wear so many sweeter scents that I probably wouldn't have been able to wear like 10 years ago, where I just like did not like anything even remotely sweet because I felt like it would just be too much. But now I find myself leaning into things that are a little bit sweeter and really enjoying them a lot more. So it's interesting how your nose does change. But anyways, Opopanax, enjoyed it, would add it to my collection. I think that this was so easy to wear, and you know, these old Santa Maria Novellas are eau de cologne formulas. They're quite light and they're not very potent. That you can spray them and splash them on like crazy and then still refresh your scent like 5 hours later. That's kind of what we're getting when we're wearing these old Santa Maria Novella eau de colognes. I appreciate that. I like it. I think that when I'm on vacation, I definitely like wearing my perfume in that way, like very heavily, and being able to just refresh myself with a spritz of perfume is something I like to do on vacation. So I don't mind that. I know that they're also like I don't know if they're discontinuing a bunch of scents or they're just discontinuing the eau de colognes and then reformulating them as eau de parfums. Not really sure. I think some places you can get Opopanax, and then sometimes you go into the store and they're like, yeah, we don't have that. So I have no idea what's going on with the brand. Of course, they don't tell people anything, but that was Opopanax. I enjoyed Opopanax. I have smelled this material in one of my favorite perfumes of all time, which is Olant by Diptyque. Olant is not focused solely on Opopanax. You just get it in the dry down. And it's way more complex because it has all these aromatics, and it definitely is more potent also. So Olant is another one that you can smell Opopanax in quite heavily, but I still think that there's a place in my collection for this one as well. So I will probably, hopefully, pick up a bottle of this later this year. Yeah, this year, 2025. The last perfume that I wore a lot of was Lis Noir by Isabey Paris. Like I said, I kind of grabbed whatever was in reach, and I have two little samples of this one. So I had one out and one is kind of put away in storage for me to revisit at another time or have for reference. I have mentioned this perfume before, but if you missed it, I will kind of recap what my thoughts were. I wore it a ton, and this was so good to take on vacation because what I said before, and I'll stand by, is that this is a weird perfume. At least to me, for my nose, for my aesthetic, this is not like anything I have. It's not like anything I would normally wear. The main notes in this are violets and lilies and patchouli. And the patchouli is really old school. It's really dry. It's really dusty. I love that. I'm not complaining about that. Lilies and violets kind of read medicinal to my nose. I really don't like a lily note. And I know that I don't know why people even like lilies, because you get them at funerals. And so they remind you of being sad. And that being said, I did get a bouquet of lilies for my birthday this past year, and they smell beautiful. They're so fragrant that my whole house smelled like lilies just because of that one bouquet. So I don't hate the smell of lilies, but I don't choose to wear that in a perfume. Like, that's not something I look for. Um, so this isn't like my type of scent, but on vacation, you can kind of be whoever you want to be. And I loved wearing this on vacation. It starts off like super medicinal, and then, 3-4 hours into the wear, you get this like warm, dry, chocolatey patchouli. You have to like patchouli if you like this perfume. You have to like lilies to like this perfume. It's weird. It's so potent. Look at the juice. It's like so dark. If I spray it on paper, you'll be able to see it even more. So I would not spray this on a white linen shirt or anything like that, because you're just going to get it dirty. That is what it looks like. You can see that. It's quite dark. I kept my sample too because I thought that it was interesting enough. It's just not like an easy reach of a perfume. And for that reason, even though I liked my sample and I pretty much finished my sample over my vacation, I don't think that I would buy a bottle, but I would want to sample other things from this brand. This is one of those revival brands, where they take an old brand and then they rework some of the perfumes and try to like recreate them or update them, make them more modern. And Lis Noir is a reworking of a scent from 1924. I don't think there's enough information out there, or like it's not popular enough that people have documented what the differences are between the 1924 version and this version. So I don't know anything about that. It's just not something that fits in my collection. I don't know. Sometimes that happens, you can appreciate something, but that doesn't mean that you have to own it. And so I think that's why I like sampling so much when I do sample, is that sometimes you can sample, document, talk about it, research it, get to know it, and then kind of just move on with your life. And that's also okay. You're allowed to do that. You can like things and not own them. I think there's a space for that. You don't have to own everything that you liked, especially if you want to collect your pennies for other things. I don't know. That's my opinion. Let me know what you think. That's it for me. Happy New Year again. Hope everybody is doing well. Let me know if you smelled any of these, or if you have thoughts, or what your most worn is. I always appreciate the comments, and I always respond. So yeah, here's to 2025, and best wishes. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.